Now, in order to study about the driving force behind the spontaneous reaction, that means the factor that make the process spontaneous or non-spontaneous, that is what we call as a driving force, right? So, the driving force which was considered on the basis of certain facts. Let us take few examples. We have seen that a stone lying at a certain height, if it is allowed to fall, it always falls down. It doesn't fall in this direction or in upward direction. It always falls down. Likewise, if we let the water flow, water also flows down a hill. It never flows from down to up without a effort, right? Likewise, whenever we keep hot and cold body together, heat always flow from hot to cold body, but we have never seen that heat flows from cold body to or hotter body. So that means in all the examples which I have stated before you, that in all these cases we have seen that the process is moving from the higher energy state to the lower energy state. So it was considered that tendency to attain minimum energy might be the factor which make the process spontaneous. So that means in a spontaneous process, or you can say that the processes which involve where where is release of energy, that means where the enthalpy is released, or you can say where all the exothermic reactions, that means minus delta H. So that means all the processes where the delta H value is negative, that makes the a reaction spontaneous, because everything in universe is just trying to attain minimum energy, because minimum energy corresponds to maximum stability, and we know that everything in universe just want to attain stability. So how they can attain, or you can say which process is going to be stable, or which process has a urge to occur itself, that is always a process which leads to release of energy, that is minus delta H, because minimum energy corresponds to maximum stability. So it was considered as a sole factor, that means the only factor which make the process spontaneous, or you can say separate the spontaneous processes from non-spontaneous processes. But later on it was proved that there are certain exceptions to this driving force. We have seen that there are number of reactions which are endothermic, that means which occur due to absorption of energy. That means for them delta H is positive, but still those reactions are spontaneous. They have a urge to happen itself. For example, if you have a liquid, that means if you have a water in a glass, so it will absorb heat and it will get converted into a vapor. So that means the process is endothermic, but still it is occurring itself. So that means this cannot be the only sole criteria which make the process spontaneous, because we have seen here the process where the delta H is positive, that means the processes which are endothermic, they can also be spontaneous. Like I have stated an example before you, the evaporation of water. Apart from it, we have many more examples where we have seen that endothermic reactions are spontaneous. Likewise, we have another limitation which actually prove that this cannot be the only criteria. Second is that there are certain processes where no energy involvement is there, that means delta H is 0, but still those processes are spontaneous. And as far we have studied here that the process where delta H is negative are spontaneous. For example, the preparation of ester, that is by adding carboxylic acid into alcohol in presence of concentrated sulfuric acid. So we get ester. For this reaction delta H is 0, but the process is spontaneous. So that means here also this factor is not operating, but that means there is something else which is making this process spontaneous. Third limitation is that there are certain processes where delta H is negative and they are spontaneous. This you agree we have done here, because delta H is negative is the factor which makes the process spontaneous. But we have seen that for those processes, there are certain processes where delta H is negative, but still the process do not undergo the completion. That means it moves in a forward direction, but it doesn't complete, the reaction doesn't complete in a proper manner, it just stops in a midway. So that means the delta H negative, because here the delta H is negative, so reaction must have been completed in that case. But here we have seen there are certain processes where delta H is negative, but still the reaction doesn't go to completion. So this can be the this actually proves that this factor is not a sole criteria for deciding the spontaneity. Another factor we have, suppose I have a reaction here, like let's say this reaction. We know that here it is endothermic. There is a condition where the gaseous vapor collide among each other and they can get converted into liquid state. So that means we have seen that there are certain processes that means which are reversible. That means the reaction can proceed in a forward manner also, and the reaction can proceed in a backward manner also. But if we consider like this kind of reversible reaction, so obviously it is going to be exothermic on one side. It is never possible that it is exothermic in the forward also, it is exothermic in the backward also. Obviously it is going to be exothermic, that means minus delta H in either direction, not in the both direction. But still they have a tendency to occur in both sides, that means the reversible reactions occur. So these limitations actually decide that this factor is not only the sole criteria which make the process spontaneous. That means beside this, it's not that I am not denying that this is not a factor. Obviously this is a factor, but this is not a sole factor which decides the spontaneity. Beside it, we have a certain more factor also, which is actually, you can say, which is actually determining the spontaneity of the process. Because here we have seen certain limitations, that where the delta H is not negative, or you can say the reversible reactions are occurring, but still the process is spontaneous. So that means there is another factor also which is influencing the spontaneity. So let us take into consideration what is that second factor which actually determines the spontaneity of the process.